Welcome to the part 4 of the Data Protection Compliance course. We are discussing the core principles and concepts of the data protection compliance regulatory requirements. This course is for educational purposes, and in the previous 3 parts, we have discussed the detailed overview of the course, what we will learn in this course. We have discussed the importance of data protection and who is data subject and what is personal data. If you have not watched the previous part 3 three parts, and then I would request you to please go and watch the part 1, part 2 and part 3, because the important concepts are discussed in those parts. So let's start the data controller and processor here in this particular part 4. So data controller is a concept which means that any person who determines the purposes and means of the processing of personal data. So the purpose and means is very important when we talk about the data controller, because it is the person or the individual who is collecting the information and who is defining the purpose of obtaining that information and how the information or the means by which that information would be processed. And the information or data means the personal data of the customer. So a data controller might be the organization or institution. Now, I would request you to please subscribe and share this video with your colleagues who are in the compliance profession and who want to upscale their knowledge, and those professionals who are working in the risk management, internal controls, internal audit, and are also relevant for this course. So please share this video with your friends and your circle so that they might also get the benefit. Now, what is data processor? Data controller, as we discussed earlier, that defines the purpose and means of the processing of the information obtained, and the data processor is any person who actually processes the information or the personal data on behalf of the data controller. For example, data controller is the organization that collected the information, and the data processor or the data controller might be any other person. Here the data controller is the person who is collected the information initially, and the data processor is helping the data controller to process that particular information. So the data processor might be the third party, and the data processor might be the internal designated professionals within the organization who actually processes the information. You can think of the information you share with the bank for opening your bank account. Then the information that is collected by the branch might be further handed over to the operations, for example, and that operations would then become the data processor, because your information would be screened and verified by the operations department of the bank. So in that case, the data processor would be residing in the same organization that collected the information, that is the data controller. But there are different situations where the data might be processed by the third party, where the data controller has made the contractual arrangements. So in that case, if there is a third party involved, then the data processor would be that third party. We will discuss this concept later in detail in this course. So again, if you have not watched the previous 3 parts of this course, then I would request you to go and watch these 3 parts. Part 3 we discussed, part 2 we discussed, and in the part 1 we discussed the key concepts of this course. So let's move on to the part 4.